We're back to the Total Education Network, Total Education Celebrity Show on the Total Education Network, TotalTutor.net for more information. Twitter, Total Tutor, Neil S. Haley, Facebook. And I really enjoyed this guest. And I'm so glad I said, we're only going to do one segment so we can have her back on. And from that day on, I know she has been nonstop with the book and everything. So I want to welcome to the program celebrity Lyssa Chapman from Dog and the Bounty Hunter and much, much more. Lyssa, how are you?
I'm fabulous. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm excited to talk to you as well, and it's always a pleasure, and your story is just absolutely amazing. And just to take our listeners back to the last time we had our interview, we were at the point where you went back to see your father. You were rock bottom. You wanted to change your life. You saw how your father's life changed. So take us from where that we left off right there with the story. So basically what happens next?
So I come off the plane in Hawaii, and I catch a cab to my dad's house. It was about 6 a.m. in the morning, and I remember it was a limo taxi, and I thought, wow, this is really fancy. And so I take a taxi, and I pull up, and literally I pull up in the driveway, and boom, there's a camera in my face. And I'm like, what's going on here? I wasn't really sure. And I was kind of thrown into, this Hollywood, New Yorker lifestyle with all these producers and high-end people. And I was just, this teen mom drug addict, homeless previously. And I was completely in culture shock. I didn't know how to carry a conversation. I didn't know what to order at the restaurants. I remember opening menus and just looking for a cheeseburger because cheeseburgers are something that I understood to be on the menu. So it was a complete culture shock for me.
I mean, thinking about that and cameras in your face, no media training at all, not knowing what to expect, because I don't think you were watching your dad on television where you were at when you disappeared. No.
I was homeless, so I didn't have
No. Oh, that's another cause we definitely have to talk about with you as well, Lyssa. I mean, so you're like, oh, my, and you're shocked at where your dad had come from. Because of what you were when you grew up with him, it was a lot of poverty. And to see the change based on the TV show must have blown you away.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, I went to the grocery store with my dad, and he, first of all, he would tell me, pick anything you want in the grocery store, and I would look at him like, are you crazy? And he was like, you can get whatever you want. And so I would go over and grab, like, a Lunchable for me and Abby to share, and he was like, what is that? And I'm like, a Lunchable, And and he was like, Lyssa, get food, So, and then we get to the checkout line, and everyone's whispering, and Dog the Bounty Hunter, and it seemed like, my dad had always been a legend in his own mind my whole life. And now other people knew who he was, and, that's the daughter. So I had gone from this big, or from being this drug addict to being Dog the Bounty Hunter's daughter literally overnight. I was thrown into this, completely different lifestyle. So it was almost like pretending. I had to pretend to talk like them and eat like them, and it was really, really incredible.
And what you saw from here when you had conversations with your father's like, if you're going to be with me, I want to see you overcome what I was able to overcome, right? He had those conversations with you from the beginning saying, here are the ground rules if you're going to stay with me. I expect this, that, and the other, and if you're not going to, then I'm going to have to cut you off pretty much, right? He's being straight with you because he doesn't want to see you hit rock bottom again.
He gave me a lot of time to adjust. He gave me adjusting time. They gave me a couple weeks to kind of get my feet, get my bearings, and then they slowly started putting responsibilities on me, taking care of the kids, helping with the housework. If I was going to be staying in the house, I needed to pull my own weight, and on top of that, they were filming a TV show, and it was, fastly growing. We were still in season 1 at the time. Season 1 was just airing, and we were filming season 2. So, they were like, you got to pull your weight. Absolutely.
I could just imagine. And how old were you at this point?
I was 17.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, I know 17-year-olds because I'm preparing them for the SAT. And they would not, with a child, they would not be ready for this responsibility. And especially with television, it's amazing. I'm sure you have a reaction sometimes when you see other teenagers on reality television, how they're kind of exposed at times. What is your response in that sometimes when you see those things happen? It doesn't seem like your father did that in a way. It was just part of the family, but other people really put them in too much involvement at that age.
Yeah. I think it's just kind of sad, so much we push our children to grow up, and children are in such a hurry to grow up. I think it's kind of really sad, and I think that the partying lifestyle is also really sad because, once you've done that, you know where it leads, you know what it gets you, and you know where you're headed. So once you've been through that and you see people going through it, you wish that you could just give them the answers, you know what I mean? Like, don't make these mistakes, let me show you what happens, let me show you what's going to happen to your future, because we know it's kind of like the sun will go down every night. It's an inevitable fact of what that lifestyle leads to.
Well, absolutely, and it's something where where to go next, and still you are suffering from you're not healed, right? You're still a drug addict when you get there, correct?
Yeah, I remember a lot of people from AA worked for my parents. They built floats, they helped at the office. They were just like really supported the family and the business. And so I remember going to like a big AA dance that they had on this New Year's Eve, and we were with some friends, and I just remember looking around at this group of people, and I thought, man, one of these people has to know where to score something good. I was like, one of these people is going to fall off the wagon. One of these people is going to, show me where to get the hookup. Because I looked around at all these drug addicts, and I was like, oh, yeah, I hit the jackpot here. So I was just doing everything I could. I didn't know anyone, so I tried as hard as I could to score. And, a couple weeks later, I eventually did.
Oh, and what was your father's response on that? Did he think you were clean when you came? That he said, I want you to be clean. You better not go on drugs. Did he have an ultimatum with you when you first came?
Not really. It was just kind of an unspoken thing. It was very unspoken. They didn't really think that I would be able to find drugs. They had really no idea. And then they had left town, and that was when I was able to score when they were out of town. And one of the kids and I had got to a spat or something, and I called my dad, and he was like, you can't do this, and blah, 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 what's going on with you? And so I hopped the plane back to Alaska. So actually, after my 6-week stint in Hawaii, I went back and did 6 weeks more in Alaska. I got pissed off, I packed all my stuff, and I said, screw this, I'm going home. So I went back to Alaska for 6 weeks and just completely stayed high the whole time. And when my show aired, I was actually in Alaska, the first episode of season 2, Baby's Back in Town, and I'm sitting in front of this TV in Alaska at my mom's house, and I thought, oh my God, what did I give up? What did I do? And I called my dad, and I was like, oh, I'm really sorry. Can you just go ahead and fly me back now?
So you saw
I promise I said, I'll do good, I promise. And so after he flew me back that second time, I completely quit using drugs. That was when I realized that, if I wanted a different life, I had to stop getting high.
So I'm confused on that, and because I'm shocked, Lyssa, that you literally, in a way, just said, I have to quit. And after you saw the lifestyle back in Alaska, you're like, I have to get back there, and I want to make a change in my life, and you just decided to do it. That's
what every day is about. It is a choice. Happiness is a choice. Living life is a choice. It really is a choice, and that was the choice. I knew, there are certain things you have to choose to do. If you choose to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning and do things, then you know that you can't stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning. It's choice. And I think that that's what stops so many people from getting clean and from having productive lives, is they don't realize that it's just a choice that you can make. Just as easy as, am I going to take the long way home from work?
So did you have to go through any rehabilitation, or you just finally just said, I decided I'm done? That was it?
No, I had no rehabilitation, no rehab, no nothing. I just went cold turkey and quit and did everything I could to... I actually, when I got back to Hawaii, I scored one more time, and I had it, and I never smoked. I was crack, and I had it, and I had stashed it up in my closet, and I hid it. And I never smoked it. I ended up a couple days later flushing it down the toilet because I was just over it. But having it gave me the feeling like I was high, and so I was shaking for 2 days. I felt like I was having withdrawals. And then finally I just went up in that closet. I grabbed the dope out. I threw it in the toilet. I flushed it, and that feeling was gone. And I was like, wow, this is very, very powerful. And for an addict, especially someone who was very poor, to flush your stash is like crazy, you know what I mean? So it was very empowering for me to have the power over that drug rather than it having power over me.
So what do you think made you do that? Honestly, what helped you in this process? You didn't have the help of rehab. You just had help in your spirit to say, I can do this?
Absolutely, and it was more than wanting a better life for me. It was wanting a better life for my children. When I looked at my daughter and I would see her and I would stay up all night and then have to get up with her in the morning, I knew I didn't want to be that type of parent. I didn't want to be the mother that I had. I didn't want to be the father that I had. I wanted to be someone that she could depend on, and I didn't. When I thought of her in 10 years getting high, I would just cringe. And so I thought, I've got to change my life. It's not for myself, but for this little girl who has no choice. When you're a child, you don't have a choice what type of home you're built into, and you have to give them the best, every opportunity that you can. And when I looked at her, I thought, I'm not going to let her end up like I did.
And
I do.
And so I think you have to be commended for that. So then I guess everything changes. Now, Lyssa Chapman kind of developing a little bit of a celebrity status from your first stint on Dog the Bounty Hunter. You come back, you get clean, and then your dad gives you more responsibility, correct?
Yeah, I started doing everything around the house. I started taking the kids to school, picking them up from school, doing all the laundry, all the shopping, all the cooking. And I had my nephew, Travis, who was 3, my daughter, who was 3, Bonnie and Gary were 5 and 7, and Cecily was 12. So I had 5 kids, and I'd take them to the grocery store, all my little towhead blondies, and I'd make them hold hands in a line, and people would go, "Oh my gosh, look at that girl with all those babies," And I just completely took over being, the house. Dad and Beth were always out bounty hunting, and so I took over all the house responsibilities. I just completely ran the home. And then I started working as Beth's assistant. If she needed anything, I would get it for her. If as well as filming Dog the Bounty Hunter, they're also running 3 businesses at the same time. There's Dog Corp, there's the Bail Bonds Company, there's T-shirt shops. I mean, there's lots of other things. So I began helping her with her other tasks during the day. And then one day they needed a decoy, and they said, let's call Baby Lyssa. We need someone that nobody knows. And I was just so upset. I was like, I do not want to bounty hunt. I am not a bounty hunter. I never want to be a bounty hunter. This is not what I want to do. And my dad looked at me, and it's really funny because it's on one of the episodes, and he goes, "Do you want to eat?" And I said, "Do I want to eat?" And he goes, "Yeah." I go, "Dad, we just had lunch." He goes, No. He goes, "You don't understand." He goes, "Do you want to eat?" I go, "Of course I want to eat." And he goes, "Well, then you got a bounty hunt."
Wow. So that's something you didn't want to be part of because you saw your dad from the beginning when what bounty hunters were till the television show, and you said, no, please don't put me involved in that life, because again, you get involved in that, you're going to get back into the drug scene because you have to be part of the noise that's around you when you're chasing these criminals.
Oh, yeah, and I remember doing bus, and we would sign dope on people, and I would think, man, look at all that. Like, I would be in heaven for a week if I had that, it was hard. It was the drug lifestyle. It was kind of like being a rat or a narc at the same time. You didn't want that stigma on you, and I was still, a drug addict at heart, so I didn't want to be a rat. And, there was a lot of things that made me not want any part of bounty hunting at all. And I just couldn't keep out of it. And then the next thing you know, I'm a full-fledged member on the team, and I'm hunting with them, and I'm doing directions, and I'm really getting into it. There's nothing like hunting another man. It's incredible, and especially when you're bounty hunting, you learn everything about them, what they do, who their mother is, what happened to their life, and you become obsessed with them almost. And when you finally do catch them, it's not like you want to wrestle them to the ground and throw handcuffs on them. You're like, dude, I'm so sorry. I can't believe your mom did that, or, I can't believe this happened to you in your life. It's kind of like we're doing right now, where you just want to know more about their story because for weeks or months or days even, you have been completely wrapped up in their lives and know everything about them. So when you finally do see them, it's this incredible rush that is better than getting high.
All right, so when we get back, we're going to be more of Lyssa Chapman. And Lyssa, your story is surprising me because I thought we're going to talk about rehab and all these things, and your strength, and when you said about taking the 5 kids to the grocery store, my wife will have to do those things, and I think that you'll have to, because I'm expecting our 5th, that you'll have to have a conversation with her one time to say, how are you able to handle that? Because she thinks you're not able to do it. You have to tell about how you did that, because I guess what you went through in your life. So when we get back, more with Lyssa Chapman. You're listening to Told Education Celebrity Show on the Told Education Network, and we'll be back in just a moment. We're back to the Total Education Celebrity Show on the Total Education Network. TotalTutor.net for more information. Twitter, Total Tutor Neil S. Haley. Facebook, check out all those different places. I'm with Lyssa Chapman from Dog and the Bounty Hunter, celebrity, and she's her book's out, and she's doing much, much more, and we're learning her story. And it's, I guess, part 3 of the story, and now we're learning that you're becoming this expert bounty hunter, which a job you never wanted. That's what's the funniest thing. You never wanted to do this.
Yeah, I wanted no part of the family business. I was happy taking care of the kids. I was happy. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and my whole life she had talked about how staying at home was the best thing you could do for your kids. And so I was happy to stay at home. I definitely didn't want to go back to work. But once I did, I really did love it. I loved bounty hunting. I loved everything about it.
And go ahead. What I was going to say, Lyssa, so basically you were tracking in the excitement of the hunt and to capture. Were you ever fearful of your life, especially when you were not as trained as your father and definitely not as big as your father, that he really could take care of people, being able to track the most dangerous people in the world? It's got to be scary at times.
It was scary, but at the same time, you have so many emotions going on that you don't really have time for fear. Everything else kind of outweighs it. I mean, right before you hit a house, you know that the guy's in there. You get the call, and they say, for sure he's in there, and this is someone you've been looking for 2 weeks. And someone says, but for sure he has a gun. And so right before you hit that house, every emotion in your body is going crazy. Am I going to get shot? Are my brothers going to get shot? It wasn't hunting with a bunch of SWAT guys. This was my family. So, the fear was there, but it was so much greater. The watch for the person and the hunt and everything else that went along with it was so much more important. So you kind of put fear on the back burner because fear is what gets you killed. So we were bad. We were a badass team of people, and we were going to go in there and we were going to rock it. We never let fear get to us.
And that's tremendous that you didn't allow fear to get to you. So through that process, the notoriety comes because you're on the TV show now. Really
right.
On the TV show. How did you handle fame? How did you handle social media at that point? It probably was just Facebook, or probably was just blogosphere at that time. But how did you handle that you really are, when you walk around, people recognized you? Was that really strange from being homeless to a celebrity?
Yeah. I adored it. It took me back to when I was a kid and I was, neglected by my parents, and I would sit all day in my treehouse and just think about what my life would be one day. And I remember when I used to spend hours and hours outside in Hawaii because my dad was always, in his closet doing drugs. And so I would just sit outside by myself, and I had a little TV show. And it was more like a talk show, and I had a co-host, and I'd sit in my chair every day and talk about current events, very similar to like Regis and Kelly. And so when people started recognizing me, I would go back to that treehouse, and I'd think, my gosh, it's all coming true. This is exactly what I dreamed of, and this is what I hoped for. And still to this day, when people smile at me, I give everyone a wave, and I give everyone a smile. And I'm very, very humble, and they're like, oh, it's you, it's Lyssa. And I'm like, no, it's just Lyssa, just me. I'm very, very humble. And I think fame is in direct relation to how much you want it, you know what I mean? And it's not really something that I want. It's not the notoriety. It's really to help people and to, get the word out there about a wholesome person. So it's kind of, it's very flattering. It's very humbling, and I just adore it. And I make sure and love all my fans.
Well, that's so special. And in a lot of ways, your childhood dream of getting to be on television, I'm sure that maybe there's a dream of being a talk show host someday.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm working on my show right now. That's actually something we've really been talking about. I've had a lot of new developments since we talked last. I was in L.A. I pitched to a bunch of networks, and I've recently brought in my brother on the project because my brother Dwayne Lee, who was on the show with us for 8 years, went to him and I said, listen, brother, I need some help on the show. I'm going to need a man. So I pulled my brother into my new project also, so it's just been going really well.
So you're pitching it to places, so we can't hear anything more, and I want to go back into the story and maybe ask you more about it. So basically, as for our listening audience that doesn't understand, even reality television shows, they're not just saying, they cast right off the bat. No, you basically sell it to a production company. The production company goes and then sells it to one of the big networks. So it's more about you getting the whole project together, then going to the networks and figuring out which network wants it. Am I correct?
Right.
So.
Right. But yeah, getting back into the story. So I am, on Dog the Bounty Hunter. We're probably in our 5th season. I was engaged to this wonderful man whom I thought was, going to be my king. And I loved him with all my heart. And we got married. I got pregnant on the show. I gave birth on the show. I went through all these emotional things on the show. And the thing about in this lifestyle is that everywhere you go, there's open bars. People are drinking. It's very acceptable. Well, for an addict, even drinking is really bad. I cannot even take Tylenol because I get addicted. I can't take nothing because I'm like, oh, I need that. I have a very addictive personality. So when I began drinking again because it was acceptable, no, I couldn't do drugs, but Lyssa, you can drink. That was when I got myself into trouble again.
Oh, no. Okay. I didn't even know about that part of the story. So basically, you become an alcoholic.
Yeah, so the show that you see where I'm being arrested and I'm crying and my mugshot's all over TMZ was after a night of drinking. I was out drinking with, friends, and I completely blacked out. I don't know if my drink got spiked or what happened, but I completely blacked out, and I'm banging on doors in my neighborhood asking for my kids and my nanny. And that's how I got arrested, was because I was just so completely drunk out of my mind that I had no idea where I was, and I'm 2.5 miles away from my house knocking on strangers' doors. So you can imagine their surprise when they open their door at 4 a.m. and it's Doug the Bounty Hunter's daughter saying, "Where are my kids?"
Exactly, and then that basically then it's the lookout, the chase after you to find you after what happens, and that's the episode I saw. Now you're definitely you're very smart about those things. I didn't tell you exactly which show, but I think you were kind of figuring out timelines and figured out where it was. So Lyssa, you again. Did you have to get help with an alcoholic, or you said, no, it's a situation where, like, I'll give you an example too, Lyssa. If I drink more than 2 beers, I can't stop. So I'll just have 1 or 2 beers and I'm done. Because I know if I drink 5 to 6, it's going to be 10 to 20. Because I'm 6'10", 280 pounds, so I can kill a case and a half back in my days as a pro wrestler. So it is what it is. I can take care of it. I know not to do it. So did you have to get help with this alcoholism, or you just said, hey, I just can't touch a drink?
I tried to go really, really extreme. I tried to go to AA classes. What I did is that scared the crap out of me so bad. My daughter was going to school, coming home, telling me that she saw me on the news getting arrested. I mean, it was horrific, and it scared the crap out of me. I was 23 years old. I had just gone through a divorce from a man. I was, had this baby. I was on this TV show. I mean, I had a lot going on in my life, and not to mention all my past abuse that, had gone on with me. So at that point, I was just completely lost and broken again. And I just went completely the other way. I mean, I went to church every single Sunday and Wednesday and Friday nights. I was at Bible study, and I was going to AA classes, and I kind of went too far to the extreme where I lost myself. And it helped me get sober, but I really, really lost myself, and I had forgotten who I was. I thought, this person who had gone through all this crap, she is a really bad person, and now I need to change that person. What I didn't realize is that everything I had went through made me who I was today, and that I just needed to quit drinking. And then I have an addictive personality, and I have an addiction person, and I get addicted to like an Airborne. I'm like, I gotta have an Airborne every day, So I realized a lot about myself during that arrest, and it made me also see my family in a different light because the cameras were there, because they let me sit in jail for 5 hours. I kind of realized, is this more out of love, or is this more for rating? I had given birth on the show. I got married on the show. I had given so many of my intimate life. Why did they want to air this arrest? Why did they want to put me on blast,
Because of ratings, and that frustrated you, didn't it?
Absolutely.
And did your father, he was not the executive producer, so he could not say, hey, this has got to get taken out.
Well, I mean, my dad has really lost a lot of control when it came to things, and especially when it came to Beth. And Beth and I have always had a hard relationship, so it really came down to the fact that she was upset, she was pissed, and she wanted me to, kind of eat my mistake and wanted to kind of put me as an example. So when the arrest came and everything happened like that, it went down that way, it made me see my family in a different light. This man who I had grown up with and, all these things, fame changes you and money changes you. And I had realized at that moment that I wasn't sure this was the life for me. This bounty hunter, being a part of this TV show, everything, after that arrest, everything kind of switched in me. The way I looked at my family, the way I looked at, my kids, it just completely switched inside me. And I realized that, everybody's out for number one. And I had to start looking out for myself.
So basically at that point, is this when you decided to leave the show, or did you have another season after this happened?
I had another season after that. And everything kind of fell apart internally in the show. Not only was I having these thoughts, but things were going on with my brother Dwayne Lee, things were going on with my brother Leland. Everyone kind of internally, it just fell apart. It exploded. It was like the Beatles. Everyone wanted more money. Everyone wanted their own contract and this and that, and it just fell to crap. And A&E said, we don't want to deal with it, and they walked away.
Oh, so I didn't even know this. So the show got canceled after that point.
Show got canceled after that point. Yeah.
See, I didn't even know that.
We couldn't come to an agreement. We were the highest rated show on A&E. Our ratings hadn't dropped. Our ratings hadn't dropped at all. We were, doing very well. Still number one on the network, and it was a agreement problem. That's why they never renewed us, and they knew that we had eternally, as a family, fallen apart.
So after the show canceled, so you're basically still around your father and all that stuff. It's just that you're not on the TV show anymore. So you're...
Yeah, I kept him in my life. What I did is that was when I contacted my agent, Charlene Martin. I contacted people. I told them about my story and my life. As soon as I realized that the show was tanking, I was like, what am I going to do? I had a little bit of money that I'd been sitting on. When you're poor and you have money, you don't spend it. So I did not spend it. I hoarded everything. And so I took that money and I put it into getting a proposal done for my book. I put it into a lease for my new store. I took every Dog the Bounty Hunter cent that I had left and spent it on, my new future. And I don't think anyone else in the family did that. They were kind of buying new cars and new shoes and new sunglasses. And, I was just over here like, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to do these things. And everyone was like, oh, yeah, sure you are. And then when the show went down, I had, all these things to fall back on.
That's very smart. I see that in my life, and I see because I guess being in professional wrestling, it helped me understand that. Because I was a rock bottom at certain times, but I always am looking at the next opportunity happening, because you never know when that other opportunity just falls apart. And you always look for those things, and that's so key. So now the book. What's going on with the book? And then we'll be able to finish up this interesting interview. We could have part 4. You're so interesting, Lyssa, but I have an idea. You want to be a talk show host. You're welcome to bring on your friends from Dog the Bounty Hunter and all these different places and interview them with me. We'll get it set up. I'll do it. Mary Ammons and I have Real Talk with the Real Housewives, so let's come up with a segment for you.
Awesome. I would love to. Let's do that. I'd love to.
All right. Well, fantastic. So tell us about what's going on with the book now. Update on the book.
The book came out May 7th. It is just doing very, very well. I have gotten so many overwhelming messages, calls, letters, just people telling me how much it touched their lives and changed their lives, and it's just been an incredible journey. I went on a book tour all through the Midwest and then down to Nashville and through New York, and I met my fans face to face, and, some places I would go to, there'd be 2 people waiting for me. Some places I'd go to, there'd be 150. So it was just a really, really amazing journey. And I did a lot of driving. I drove myself all around. And as I was driving in that car, I just thanked God. I would just almost start crying because I was just so thankful. I would think of my life back when I was that little girl in that tree house. And then here I was driving myself around to all my book tours, my fans who were waiting for me. And there's just no words. I wish I could save that moment in a bottle because I was just the happiest girl alive. And I'm just so grateful for everything I've been given, and I'm in a really good place.
Well, I believe you're in a great place. So where can our listeners purchase your book and learn more about you? And I guess, Lyssa, next month you start your segment, so we'll have to say babies. We'll come up with a segment name, and then you start bringing people on. If it starts out with people that are involved with your family that have been on the show, that's fine. But if it's other celebrities, we'll just bring them together, and you'll have your talk show. I'll make it happen.
Awesome. I'm so excited.
All right, so where can we find info, Lyssa?
You can find the book online and in stores everywhere, or you can go to my website, LyssaChapman.net, and there's ordering options available there.
Well, thanks a lot, Lyssa, for calling the program. Look forward to talking to you off there, and I'm looking forward to our segment next month. It's just so cool because you and I hit it off. I know that you and you want to dream, you want to do a talk show. Let's do it. Let's give you the big audience and let you have fun bringing on people that you want to just have a conversation with, because you and I are both conversational stylist people. We both were in different types of lives before what we are today. You're an author. Yeah. I'm an educator and an entrepreneur, but before I was just a pro wrestler, in the small towns all over the country, educated somewhat, but really have lived some challenging parts of my life. So I think that's where we made our connection. So thanks for calling, Lyssa, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. You're listening to Told Education Celebrity Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.